Hey everyone. If you're watching the replay, I just am going live and I'm going to go live here on Instagram as well. So I'll just be a little back and forth between the two. Just wanted to do a Q&A today. And if you have any questions, go ahead and post them and I will answer. And okay, so I'm going live. Hi, how are you? Oh man, it's been a long week. It's Friday. I know it's Friday night. I don't know if people are out and about. So I don't really do a mentorship or anything like that just yet, just because I don't really have time. So I have some one-on-ones. If you click the link on my Instagram, I do limited one-on-ones, but no, I don't have like a mentorship or anything. Sorry about that. But I do have a crash course, and a lot of people who have taken that have done really good. Hey, everyone on Instagram, I'm also on YouTube Live. So if I look this way, I'm talking to the YouTube people. And then if I look this way, I'm talking to Instagram. So just trying to get all the bases covered because I found out that a lot of people on YouTube don't even really have Instagram. So hey, everyone on Instagram. And yeah, so basically, I have a video about the contracts that I recently did. Basically, with the contracts, you just want to keep it simple. I guess it just depends on what market you're in. So one thing I found with dealing with a couple different markets, if you're in like a big market like Las Vegas, Texas, your contract can be more involved and like heftier and bigger because people are going to feel weird about signing like the really simple one-page contracts. But if you're like in a small market with a lot of cash deals that are like smaller, like 30,000, 40,000, stuff like that, I think that a really simple contract that just has the most simplest terms, like my contract, I think only has like 10 terms, like the price, earnest money, just off the top of my head, the title being free and clear, or if not, you edit it just depending on the deal you have, of course. So just keeping it as simple as possible and having the minimal terms on there so you don't just like confuse everyone, all your sellers, is what I find works best. And then if you're somewhere where the houses are really expensive, they want like a real estate contract. So you can model yours off of, your real estate. Like out here in Vegas, it's GLVAR, LVAR or something, but the association, they usually have like their standard template. Someone asked on YouTube, can you break down the difference between cash comps and ARV comps? So cash comps are cash buyers. So on Propstream, there's a filter that you can put cash sales or cash buyer sales. And those are just all the people who bought the properties cash, versus ARV is more retail buyers. It can still be an investor buying something at an ARV price, but most of the time it's like a homeowner, someone who got a mortgage, because it wasn't cash. So if they use any type of financing, that's going to be financing comps. If they use cash, it'll be a cash comp. ARV is the retail value. So if you're looking at comps and you're looking at stuff that's in the same condition as your property most of the time, and you're looking at cash comps, that's going to be around the same price that an investor is willing to pay. If you are looking at something that's like totally nice and brand new, that's what you can call ARV when you're advertising your deal, basically. Hey, everyone on Instagram. So Millie Bree asked, do you have multiple LLCs? You guys can put your questions in the question box on Instagram too, or if you're on YouTube, just type it in the live chat. Millie Bree said, do you have multiple LLCs in every single market? So no, I have one LLC in one market, because all you need is one LLC and you can pretty much do business anywhere in the United States. Thank you. C. Edgar said the crash course is dope. I appreciate it. I'm glad you got a lot of value from it. Zelda Barber, what state should I start in? Honestly, I can't tell you that. Wherever you feel like really any market's a good market as long as it's not somewhere like New York City, Miami, LA. Like if it's not somewhere crazy that you know is going to be super competition and oversaturated, which is just my personal preference. A lot of people wholesale in Vegas and do great. So it's really up to you. Like personally, I like a smaller market just so I can have less competition. And you can start, in the state you're in if that's where you know the most about, or anywhere where you know a lot about, or you're willing to learn about, honestly, because there's 50 states. And I've met wholesalers who make a ton of money in Florida and Missouri and Michigan and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I mean, it doesn't really matter of the state. It's just really how much digging you do in that city or state. And yeah, I mean, Indiana, definitely, I've seen some wholesalers in Indiana. There's wholesalers everywhere, and wholesaling has been around for like years and years and years and years, like way before, YouTube and gurus and everything. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon either. I don't know what you mean by where do you find the percentage for cities? I don't understand that question. Jonas, yes, I am Ethiopian. Chantel Valentine says, how do you pull vacant property records from the courthouse? I don't know about from the courthouse because I've never gone to a courthouse, but I use Propstream for vacant property records. It's really simple on there. You just click vacant, not owner occupied, and you have like a good vacant property list. I have a free trial, like 7 days to Propstream. There's a link in my Instagram bio. You can use the free trial for 7 days. If all you want is to like get some information, just make sure you cancel before that 7th day because they do make you put a card on there to be able to get the free trial. But Propstream is definitely what I use for everything. Millie Bree, I love the crash course. It was everything. I feel confident to start. Thank you. Awesome. That is exactly the purpose why I made that. Everyone kept asking me, how do you virtually wholesale? How'd you do it? How'd you learn? And I literally, there's no way to put it in a paragraph or in a sentence or in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Like the crash course is like almost 4 hours. It's a lot. But I have so much stuff on YouTube for free too. You just got to put the information together or spend $100 and get all the information given to you. Okay. So you mentioned paying attention to crime heat maps, but a lot of the hot zip codes in South Florida are bad neighborhoods. And that's where you just, learn your market. So if you see that in your market, people are investing in crime, high crime areas, maybe, that's when you have to talk to the boots on the ground, the realtors, everybody like that, because every market's not going to be the same. And find out which neighborhoods are people investing in the most and why. Maybe it's becoming gentrified. Maybe it's an area that people are making everything rentals in. I'm not going to play a game with you.
But can you just play?
When I'm done, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No, not right now. Go back.
Can I stay on the couch?
You're going to be waiting a long time. It's not going to be fast. So just finish watching your show.
Hey.
I'll get it when I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put it right there.
All right. Don't make too much noise.
Okay.
He wants me to buy a plant on his Plants vs. Zombies game. Don't buy anything.
Not yet.
Don't buy anything. I'll buy it when I'm done.
Okay.
Um.
I'm just gonna go first. I'll do and come back.
Okay.
Okay. Oh.
Sorry. So that's when you really want to learn your market. If you did take the course, then you probably saw the part where learning your market is the most important part. So talk to the people, the real estate agents, the other investors, wholesalers, whoever, and boots on the ground, and find out where people are investing, why. You'll get all the information from them. Some people do invest in like D, C-, F neighborhoods. That's just how it is. Thank you, Lieutenant. You're so funny. What's the best way to find the contact info for an owner if the home is vacant and the info provided by the skip tracing company is wrong? So what you can do is, if you have the owner's first name and last name and everything, you can try free people search, true people search, fast people search for free. If not, so then you can go on Fiverr and you can find someone to do like more of a deep dive for you. Ideally, excuse me. Let me go on YouTube. So Eddie Jones says, what is your main prospecting or marketing method? Mainly cold calling. I do a little text blasting, but I have 3 people who cold call. Flip a stat. Can I still purchase your contracts off your bio? Yes, they're still there in my Instagram bio. Like for instance, to determine the seller cost after you've checked the house out. Okay, so basically if you're saying like how to make an offer, I have a YouTube video that says making offers using Propstream. I would watch that. It's really, really detailed. It would take me like an hour to go over it right now. But well, the YouTube video isn't really detailed, but how to do it is detailed. And you can get like the overview with the YouTube video, or if you get the crash course, it explains it also in depth and in detail. Someone said, Toddy, did you attempt to wholesale in Vegas? Yeah, but I would say it was a really weak attempt. I think I just got super intimidated fast. I bought like 200 bandit signs. I drove around putting them up. It didn't go well. And then I called a list for like 2 weeks and everyone was hanging up on me and cussing me out and stuff. So I kind of just gave up, but I'll be back for Vegas. I just got so busy, and right now I'm like 37 weeks pregnant, almost 38 weeks pregnant. So I'm just trying to kind of finish this little time out without too much stress. But I definitely am going to begin marketing in Vegas soon. Excuse me, guys. I have allergies like all the time, so I'm always sniffing.
I probably want to.
So where have you had the most success finding buyers? Between Facebook and Craigslist, I would say. Between Facebook and Craigslist. So Chantel Valentine said, which script are you using? I don't use a script anymore. I had, so I first started with the Tcpa script that you can download for free. And then I went to this wholesaling thing and they had a bunch of things to add into the script. So I did that. And my VAs all have done real estate marketing before. So they all kind of had their own scripts, but it was more so just talking to people and knowing what to ask when they say certain things. Like if they say, oh, it's tenant occupied, then okay, how long have the tenants lived there? Like once you call for like a few weeks, you'll get the hang of it and you're not going to really need a script. You just talk to them and see if they want to sell their house, what the details are and stuff like that. But if you get the contracts and documents and everything from my the link in my bio, I do have the script that I kind of formulated in there as well. Kiss of Kira, you're welcome. Yes, I did a really big discount for Black History Month. I'll probably do like a smaller one maybe in coming soon, but right now it's still only $100 for 4 hours of really in-depth information. And most people say like they took like $500 courses and didn't get that in-depth information. So I know the value's there. I just sometimes do a discount just to help people out, because I know a lot of people starting don't have a lot of money or any money, which is why I made that last YouTube video of how to start with no money, because I just know that's the situation we're in. It's COVID. When people get that money from the government or whatever, they're trying to catch up on things, and I get it. So I just, try to help out. He said, get the Habesha community to back you. That's funny. That's a whole nother conversation. Let's see. So, do you use a burner phone? So, oh, thank you for the congratulations. Thank you. So I use So phone burner the dialer. Okay.
Phone burner the dialer.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Hey.
So he's showing off his horrible haircut. So I try to do an at-home haircut. And now he looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, but it's okay because it'll grow back. It was supposed to be a regular haircut, and it just started getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And now,
yeah, so like I don't know how my hair's gonna grow back.
It will grow back.
Oh, they like our video.
Okay, good. Okay, go play. Thank you. So REI Blackbook is the software that I use to pretty much do my whole dispositions flow. So in REI Blackbook, they have an app called Profit Dial.
I'm also playing plans with you.
And hey, what did you say? Did you say you were going to do this or that you were going to be good? I'm going to kick you out if you keep doing this. I'm
also playing plans with you.
Okay. Sit down and play, or I'm going to put you back in the living room, okay?
I told the people.
Sorry guys. REI Blackbook is...
Hey.
Okay. I'm going to put him in the living room because he's not going to stop.
Okay. I'll stop.
Are you sure?
Uh-huh.
REI Blackbook is the software I use. It's about $200 a month. And in it, there's an app called Profit Dial, which you can download onto your phone. And it turns your phone into a bunch of different phone numbers. So you can label them like buyer's line, seller's line, cold calling Florida, cold calling Missouri, whatever, and label all the different numbers. It's about $3 or $6, depending on what kind of line you want, that's added to your monthly plan. So it's really, really good because it turns my phone into a burner phone, you could say, and then I can switch the numbers whenever I want. Whenever people start calling in and it starts saying scam likely, that's when I know it's been flagged, and then I'll change my number. Someone said, where do you find motivated sellers? So again, Propstream I use pretty much for everything. I know there's lots of different ways people go into like the county records on their city and stuff like that. But for me, I've just been using Propstream. I started doing that when I started in April 2020. It worked. I haven't ran into any issues yet. Yeah, sometimes the leads are called by a million different people, but you just have to get super creative with the filters that you use. And just keep trying to do different things every time. Gabriel said, what books would you recommend for someone starting out? So when I first started, I watched so much YouTube actually, and then a good book that I read that basically breaks down wholesaling. You don't really need to read a book, but if I was going to say one book, I would say it's called If You Can't Wholesale After This, I Don't Know What to Tell You, and it's by Todd Fleming. It breaks down wholesaling, but it's kind of old school, you know, like putting out bandit signs, but that works for some people in some markets. It's really what works in your market, you know, because you might be in a market where everyone is calling and you need to be texting. You might be in a market where everyone's doing direct mail and you need to be doing something else. So I think it takes a little time to figure out what will work in your market, but there is wholesalers in your market and something's working for them. So that being said, you can wholesale anywhere. You just have to figure out which way are people not being hit up a lot and go that way. So if everyone's getting calls, maybe text. If everyone's getting text, maybe send mail. If everyone's getting mail, maybe do bandit signs. Door knocking is supposedly the best, but I've never, and I will never because I'm so shy. But there's just so many different ways. It's just trying to talk to people. Facebook. Some people will get lists of people that they can't get the phone numbers for and try to find them on Facebook. Yeah, it will take a lot more time, but imagine if you're reaching people no one else is able to reach, you probably have a better chance at getting a deal out of those. It only takes one. I know it's gonna grow back. He's not too sad about it. So can you be sued? Probably, you know, probably if you don't make your contract right, like if you don't give yourself if you don't give yourself an out. So for example, say you don't have an inspection contingency and you don't put your earnest money down in a certain amount of time and your contract says you will, and you didn't use your contingency or whatever, maybe the seller could sue you. Will they? Probably not, because it just depends on how much. And again, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't been sued, knock on wood. And anytime I've been threatened to be sued, and someone, this guy's yelled at me, but he didn't have any, he wouldn't have won and he wouldn't have been able to sue me anyway. But I think most of the time it's going to be an empty threat. Maybe if a seller makes an agreement with somebody else and they have a memorandum on that property, and then you go ahead and wholesale it and the deal goes through, you get paid, they get paid. Maybe in that scenario, someone could sue you. But I don't think that someone would sue you. Oh, your baby started walking yesterday. Congratulations. And that's the moments that I don't want to miss out on. When I had my son, he's 4 now. When he was about 6 months, I went back to work. I was working at Starbucks, and we just really needed the money. It was just too hard with one income. So I went back to work, and like family, friends, whatever daycare, babysitter we could find for cheap, watched him, and definitely missed out on a lot of moments. So I'm really happy to be doing this. Of course, it takes a lot of time, but at least I can have my baby right there and not, miss out on those moments. I pulled my first list. It was horrible. What's your favorite list to pull? Watch my YouTube video, Pulling Lists. I talk about my favorite lists to pull. And on my Instagram, I've been actually talking about it the last couple weeks. Any luck on text blasting? Yeah, definitely. I actually just closed a deal for $3,500 on a text blast. It closed in like 2 days. It was a quick claim deed. So basically I text blasted a code violation list. Someone texted back, yeah, I want to get rid of it. I said, hey, I'll just get the back taxes out of your name. So he basically gave it to me for free. Found a buyer like the next day for $3,500. She met up with my boots on the ground. They did the paperwork. She sent the money, cashier's check, right into my bank account. I paid my boots on the ground for his time and the notary for her time. And I made $3,300 because I paid them each $100. So definitely text blasting, good. I've done other deals on text blasting too. That was just my favorite one because it took like 2 days. I'd rather make a few $1,000s in 2 days than taking a month and a half to make, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll have a $10,000 deal that might take a month and a half or 2 months. Sometimes stuff happens and it takes 3 months for something to close. So I like those quick ones. If I sign up for your program, are the contracts included? So no, the contracts are separate and they're in my Instagram bio. The course is 4 hours of information, and then the contract scripts, I have a JV contract in there as well, and then a contractor's scope of work in case you have some buyers or you have some properties that are going to be higher priced and you want to have more of a professional presentation with it. You want to include like a scope of work of what you see, what your boots on the ground saw. And I've done this in the past, and I will still do it if it's like an expensive deal and I really want to put that extra time in. I'll make a pro forma where I will put all the repairs that need to be made and estimates for the costs. And you can find that on Google pretty easily, or I have boots on the ground who are contractors, and I ask them, hey, how much do you think it would take to do this, and that? And I just get prices, labor only, and then they can find out their own material costs. And I do that sometimes just to give them like a rough idea of what everything will cost, because I really want to sell the deal and I want it to be very professional. So that's just something extra I do. You don't have to do that. But I threw that in that contracts and paperwork bundle just so you guys would have it. If you do want to go the extra mile, when you go the extra mile, you make more money, period. So my opinion on RVM. RVM apparently works amazing for some people. I've done a few campaigns and people get really pissed off. So I kind of avoid it, but I'm going to incorporate it. Definitely going to incorporate it more when I start Vegas. I think I'm going to do a lot of RVM just because I need a marketing that's just going to go everywhere really quickly. And everyone is texting here.
Everywhere really quickly.
Please do a YouTube video comping properties people send in to you. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. We can do like a...
Yeah, that's actually...
Hey, all right, go to the living room and watch your show. Oh, yep. Oh.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop.
You just said you were gonna stop and you kept going.
Okay, now I'm gonna stop.
If you do it one more time, I'm gonna take your iPad away.
Okay.
For the rest of the night. But we can definitely do that, a YouTube video where we just go live. I'll set something like that up and advertise it ahead of time so everyone can get on with their properties. What's the YouTube called? It's called Hot Wholesale. What percentage of your wholesale deals go to taxes? So this is my first year, so I haven't filed taxes yet. But as far as like, and I pretty much put most of my money to the side. I haven't really spent anything besides like basic needs and remarketing. So I'm gonna find out how much taxes I have to pay. But from what I've heard, you get taxed like income tax. So for sure under 25%. 25% would be capital gains tax. So capital gains tax you pay when you like flip a property in less than a year. So I don't think I'll be paying capital gains tax. That's probably a question better for someone who's been wholesaling for a few years, though. Young Icy King said, what's the next step after getting a buyer? After you get a buyer, sending the assignment contract or your purchase contract to title and making sure the buyer sees the property, puts their earnest money down within 24 hours, and wait for the deal to close in title.
Mom, are you done?
So I wasn't working a 9-to-5 when I started. So like when COVID happened, I was laid off as it is. So I wasn't working a 9-to-5, but I've definitely made well over 6 figures in less than a year right now. It will be a year. April 9th, I said it on my first video. April 9th was the first day I started cold calling. So it's March 12th.
Are you done?
Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second.
Are you done? Are you done? No. Mama. What are you doing?
Sorry, thought I could have him in, and he just snuck in the room and acted like he was just going to play his game. But of course, you know, he's 4, so had to set him straight real quick. Right. Oh. So someone said it is basic income tax depending on how much you make. So, and then also someone told me, well, a few wholesalers told me they didn't even file taxes for like the first 3 years until they really figured it out. So one of my friends has a CPA, so I'm getting with them before I file like my regular taxes, because I still have the technically like the W-2, because my job laid us off in in March. My job laid us off March 11th. And then I started cold calling April 9th. So between then I was kind of like watching YouTube, figuring out what my game plan was. And I was finishing my spring semester of college. Yes, JV means joint venture. Jake asked, what are your must-have tools for wholesalers? So I think a dialer system, lists of people to call for me, and either text blasting or anything else you want to do, but must-have, I would say a dialer system and lists to call, and then Propstream to be able to comp. You can comp using Zillow, you can comp using Redfin and stuff like that, but like the best, most accurate comps that I've found have been on Propstream. And for text blasting, someone asked here, I use the Smarter Contact. So The two softwares that I've used are Lead Sherpa and the Smarter Contact. So Lead Sherpa is $500 a month plus $100 per market. So if I'm in 3 markets, that's $700 a month. If I use the Smarter Contact, I can be in as many markets as I want for no additional cost. And it's basically like $200 a month plus 0.03 cents per text. So if I'm texting 1,000 people a day, it adds up to about $600 a month. So it's a couple $100 of a difference. And I like the Smarter Contact because, like, right now, especially with being kind of taking things a little bit more easy, getting ready to have a baby, I'm not texting 1,000 people a day right now. So if I do 200, I can just pay 0.03 cents a text and just do 200. If I get a new list and I have a lot of energy and I'm like, I'm going to text 500 people or 1,000 people today and call everybody back, then I can do that. So I like the Smarter Contact because it's kind of like pay as you go, pay for what you need, versus Lead Sherpa. You're paying that money every month, no matter what. Oh, awesome. You just bought the course. Thank you, Jay Fox. I really hope you get all the info you need from it. Yeah, I had to mom him real quick. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, he did. I said I was going to stop. And he's out there crying. I hear him. Has it been necessary to have your LLC? So the thing I like about having an LLC is it makes you really credible and it makes people really trust you. Like the first, especially when you don't sound super confident over the phone and they can kind of tell you're kind of new, they might be like, well, what's your website? What's your business? Blah, blah, blah. So I like having the LLC because some people will really look you up, especially in the beginning. I think I got looked up like 4 or 5 times. No one's done it anytime recently. And then as far as like, when you get a little bit deeper, you can do things like actually purchasing the property yourself instead of wholesaling it. So when it comes to that, it is important definitely to have your LLC, because I've closed maybe on 3 or 4, just closed them myself so I don't have to deal with the seller anymore, because some sellers are hard to deal with and you're like, I'm just going to give you this 10 grand or 20 grand or 3 grand, just depending on the deal. Like those are the different numbers that I've dealt with, but just rather just close on this, be done with it, put my own lockbox on it and sell it that way. Because by the time these people understand what's going on and allow you to put a lockbox on it, you're going to lose the deal. So when you're at that point, definitely having your LLC is necessary. But yeah, it just makes you look like a business. So it just depends on how you're approaching your conversations with sellers. If you're saying, me and my mom buy properties together, then no, you don't need an LLC. You can take the contracts and just put them in your name. But if you're saying, we buy houses and I'm a house buying business, then yeah, you need an LLC. How do you decide when to tell a seller you're wholesaling versus just an investor? So I never say like I'm wholesaling. I'll never say the word wholesaling, but I will tell them that I might not be the one closing on the property. So it's like, I buy houses, which I do now, but it's like, okay, so I buy houses, but if it's not really fit for me, my partner might buy it, but someone in my business circle is going to buy it. So that's basically how I approach the idea of like other buyers. AIS Labs said, have you ever done a deal that was listed on the MLS? No, I have not. A on BC, he or she says, is the Deal Machine app any good? So I really did like Deal Machine for virtually driving for dollars when I first started, but then I think I got a list of like 250, and then I pulled a vacant property list in the same area, and all those properties were pretty much on there. So I kind of felt like I wasted my time. But I think that, that it is worth it because it's only $50 a month, especially if you're going to have like, it's just, what is your time worth to you? If you have the time to like virtually drive for dollars, it takes a while. So it might take you 6 to 8 hours to build like a really good list, but the leads are going to be really good because they're obviously physically distressed properties. So I think it's worth it. It's only $50. But if I had to say like, if I only had a little bit of money, no, I wouldn't get the Deal Machine app. I'll just get a dialer, get a list and start calling it. He said, I'd be cold calling fearful as hell, but I still push through it. I say, after everything I say. Yeah, I know. And that's how it is in the beginning. In the beginning, it's very nerve wracking. And some people say, and some people, they don't like cold calling. So they just do it long enough to, they just do a lot enough to like understand the process. And then they get cold callers, which is fine too. It's just like, do you have time? Do you have money? Whatever you have, leverage it. I like talking to people, but at the same time, I don't like cold calling because it's tedious. Of course, like you're on the dialer for hours. It's tedious, but it is still very important, especially for my marketing. Let's see. So Jackie says, how do you go about getting your boots on the ground in a different market? I have a video about boots on the ground on YouTube. I would watch that. How do you find the seller when the property is owned by an LLC? You can go on to the Secretary of State of whatever state and look up the LLC, and typically the person's name is on there. But you can also skip trace LLCs through I have a link in my bio for skip tracing, wholesaledata.com. It does skip trace LLCs. How long do you stay in an area before you know it's dead? So I would never say any area is dead. If I start a market, so I've only started one market that I didn't like, which was Baltimore, and it was just too much at the time for me, and the list I pulled was bad, and I was already like so busy in different markets that I just gave up on it. And then with Vegas, it was the first thing I tried, and I got a bunch of no's, and I kind of just gave up really fast too. So I think as long as you don't give up, you'll find stuff. Like when I started in St. Louis, it was really hard. I wasn't getting anything, but I have family there, so I persisted, and then things started to turn around. I was going to quit after like the first 4 or 5 weeks, but I didn't. And then now it's good. So I think no matter where you start, it's just being consistent and continuing to learn the market and continuing to learn the hot zip codes in that area. And I still don't know as much about it as I know about my original markets, but still, the longer you're there, the more you'll learn. And I literally picked my markets super randomly, just found, I'm on a lot of wholesaling groups. So like wholesaling houses ground zero, wholesaling houses for newbies, wholesaling houses full time, and then all these cash buyer groups too. So when I first started and I found out like you can sell stuff in Facebook groups, I basically joined every single Facebook group for wholesaling. So you just type in wholesaling in Facebook and groups, you'll find so many groups. Join those and just start looking at people's deals and all those cash buyer groups, nationwide cash buyers, national cash buyers. Start looking at those groups and look at where there's a lot of deals at, and then, just go there. And so I have a YouTube video about virtual markets, so I would watch that, guys. If you have a lot of questions about picking virtual markets, what size of a market, population, how many cash buyers, all that good stuff. When cold calling, what do you say as an opener to the seller? I just say their first name. I think that's the most important thing. Like, hey, David, hey, Jan, hey, Jessica. And just starting off like that, like you're their friend, and not being like, hello, I'm looking for this person. I would like to speak to this person, and sounding like a salesperson. I think it's important to be like, hey, Jan, hey, how are you? Yeah, I was just wondering about your property here, and just really, really naturally, like you already know them, break that barrier of, oh, this is a sales call, and you'll have a lot more luck. Deja, $50 a month. We were talking about the Deal Machine app. Top for our Durrell says, if the cash buyer goes around you to do a deal with the seller, what should have happened to avoid that? So if the cash buyer met the seller because they went to go see the property and then they met the seller there, your boots on the ground should have been acting as a buffer and kind of sticking with the seller the whole time to make sure nobody talks to them. On the flip side, if they search the property and they find the seller and they skip trace the seller and they go talk to them themselves, there's really nothing you could have done. But if you get a feeling like that things are being shady, you can file a memorandum with the city that says like, hey, I have this contract for this property. So if they do try to go behind your back and sell it, you have a right to your money. I wouldn't say I'm an investor or an acquisition manager just because the word investor sounds kind of skeevy. Someone said, should I say I'm an investor or an acquisitions manager? I wouldn't say either because they're not going to know what an acquisitions manager is either. I would just say I buy houses or I work for a company that buys houses. Either one of those. And yes, Emmanuel asked, do I use a phone dialer? So I've been using Phone Burner since I started. I'm still using Phone Burner with one of my callers, and I just got Call Tools just to try it out. It's a 5-line dialer, and it's working pretty good. Yeah, smile when you're calling, happy face, happy voice. And then when I went to San Antonio and I went to Q, Quentin Flores had like a little free event. One thing that I liked that he did was he says before he starts calling, he kind of like hypes himself up, like somebody on the other line, on the other side of the phone needs me. Because sometimes when we cold call and the phone's ringing, you're like, God, I hope they don't answer. Or even when you're following up with the lead, you're like, oh, I hope they don't answer because you're kind of, nervous or scared. And I kind of like how he was like, they need me, they need my help, someone out there needs me. And he was like, just give your best, like, or like, just get your mindset and then just click dial. Cause you have to kind of pump yourself up a little bit. When cold calling as a beginner, isn't there a chance you can call someone other than the seller who was talking for him? Maybe like an agent. Yes. I've had times where like I skip trace a number and I get their agent or their friend. And if it's not them, you could try to talk to them, of course. Morris James, yes, I do recommend text messages. Someone said, can a student do this business? Definitely. One of my cold callers is a high school student. He's so good. And now he's actually acquisitions manager. Do you scrub for do not call in TCPA? So the dialer does it automatically, and litigators. If you use most skip tracing services will scrub for litigators, or it'll at least tell you. And then also the dialers that I use do scrub for do not call. I have not done any vacant land deals. How do you make sure your phone number does not show up as scam likely? You can't really make sure. If it does, you just have to switch your number. John Lewis, yes, I like St. That's what I was just talking about, St. Louis. It was very hard in the beginning because I didn't understand the comps in the market, and then it's a non-disclosure state, so all the comps online like will show up with no number for the sale. So it took a minute, and it's still a work in progress. But I started in November. It was hard to get a foot in, and I've done like 5 deals there so far. So about 1 a month. It's not huge, but it's something in addition to what I'm doing, And yeah, Jackie, I did start technically I did try in Vegas. I got bandit signs and started calling out here, but I gave up quickly. I felt like it's easier to be I guess a small fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. So I just started elsewhere. Thank you, Omizi. REI next door said, I always say I work with a group of investors that buy house in the area. So that's what he says. I just don't like the word investor because I think when people hear investor, they think someone who has a lot of money, or they think like skeevy. So I just say like landlords, home buyers, house buyers, etc. Vando Social. So both. You come across as the buyer and let them know that you work with buyers. Maybe I'll buy it. Maybe someone else will buy it. That's what I do anyways, because it's like, I mean, that's actually the truth. If it works for me, then I'll buy it. And if it doesn't, then somebody else will buy it that I know. So hello from San Antonio. Yes, I love San Antonio. How much do you spend on marketing a month? Just depending on like the amount of lists or data I buy, it could be like 2,000, it could be 5,000. So basically, between those. And how many deals? between, like, on the worst month, maybe 3, and on the best month, maybe like 7. He said he just got a vacant land today. Have no clue what I'm doing though. And then I've only been doing it for a year, so I wouldn't say I have like an average because every month is different. It might be like I had August where it was like really bad, and I think I closed one, and then I in January I closed 2, but one of them was pretty big, so it was okay. And one month I closed 7, but 3 of them were very small, but it was okay. So it's just, every month is different. My goal is at minimum 5. Doesn't always happen though, but it's okay. How many VAs do you use for cold calling? 3, and one of them also does acquisitions, so he's like half and half. Jess, what are your thoughts on creative financing? So I actually purchased my first property with creative financing with a seller financing note, and I think creative financing is an awesome way to get your foot in the door if you don't have a lot of cash, or even if you do, just to be able to buy more houses. So I think it's awesome. Let's see. Oh shoot, I didn't even see all these questions. How long does it take from starting a deal, cold calling, to finishing getting paid? So pretty much between 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months. It really depends on what happens in the deal. So most of the time, you call, you get the contract in the first week, then cool, you get the pictures, you get a buyer the second week, awesome, now you're in title. And then it maybe take a month from there. So 6 weeks, unless your title company can close super fast, which during COVID right now hasn't been happening for me, but if they can close super fast, awesome. If it's a quick claim deed, it might be a week. If it's a situation where there's issues, title issues, like I have a deal from November that's still working on getting closed because there was a mechanics lien, and then there was another lien, and then there was a mortgage, and it was all fixable, so they're still fixing it. I had another deal that took 2.5 months to close. So it really, really, really depends. But I would say on average about 6 weeks. How many tabs do you have open while cold calling? Pretty much like when I was cold calling, because I'm not anymore, but when I was, Propstream, the dialer, and I'll be reading a book, waiting to talk to people. How long do you typically spend on the phone with a seller initially? So that's a good question, because when I cold call, the idea was to get the contract on the cold call, but now because I'm using VAs, their goal is just to get the information. And then when I call them after, that's when the conversation gets deeper. I've found, I know people say like it's best between 8 minutes or whatever, 8 to 12 minutes, but personally, I find the longer the conversation, the better the deal. The more rapport I build, the better the deal. So I've talked to people for an hour, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, and it gets very exhausting if you're talking to like 4 or 5 sellers a day for 20 minutes to an hour. Some people could talk forever, so it's hard to get off the phone with them. And I'm chatty too, so we're just, bonding and stuff. But those turn out to be the best deals, honestly. It could be 10 minutes though. Ricky said, when are you going to build houses to sell and work for a builder in OKC? And I want to build houses with someone. I mean, I guess when I have enough money to. I don't really know. I haven't even thought about building houses, honestly, but I would definitely be open to it. I have good credit. Let's talk about it. How do you deal with sellers that always have a different price range? What do you mean by always have a different price range? You have to know how much you can actually pay, like flat out, and you can't really go below that. I mean, you can't really go above that just to get the contract or just to get a deal. You have to stick with your maximum offer, or else you're just going to waste your time and theirs. Oh, thank you, Johnny White. That's very sweet of you. AIS Lab, the quick claim deed process is super simple. It's literally just a piece of paper, on it, and it says quitclaim deed, and it has whatever the deed is for your state on there. You fill out that paper, and it has and it's notarized. So the buyer and the seller both fill it out. It's notarized. Take it to the tax office. They put the deed in your name. Now you own the property. Now you also are responsible if it has mortgages, back taxes, or anything like that. Those are all on you now. So it's important to do your due diligence. When you go through title does all that for you. But if you just get a quitclaim deed, you don't have to do all that. I would say my niche is virtual wholesaling because I don't really have like a more deep down niche. But no, I don't do on market, all off market deals. Can I virtual wholesale from Europe? That I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think you should be able to. I have someone that lived in Britain who did a one-on-one with me, and I think he figures that he could. I don't see why you couldn't, honestly. Jay Menifee, so I don't have any type of coaching, but I do have a crash course for people who want to learn like A to Z, all virtual wholesaling. It's in my Instagram link, and for everyone on YouTube, I'll just put it in the chat. But I don't really have any type of coaching or anything like that, just because I'm doing this full time, as well as, being a mom and everything like that. I don't have any extra time, and like whatever extra time I do have, I'm really trying to spend that time with my son. He's only 4. It's COVID. He's so bored at home. So right now, no. In the future, maybe, and maybe soon, hopefully. And I work with title companies because the markets I'm in are not attorney states. And no, Kenny, I'm not doing 70% rule. I'm doing as is comps, but the 70% rule does work in, major metro markets. It works for cash buyers. So you still have to, that way you have to figure out repairs and subtract repairs. And that's a little bit too involved. I would rather the buyer figure out what they can pay and their own repair costs, because you can have buyer A who's going to use a licensed and bonded contractor, and it's going to cost him $50,000 to do the job. Or you could have buyer B who him and his uncle and his friends are going to go do it, and it's going to cost them $25,000 in materials, and they're going to flip it and split the profit. So it just depends on who your buyer is. So why would you tell somebody how much a repair is going to cost when you don't know their strategy? So that's kind of what that's what I've found doing all these deals. Because I had this buyer, his name's Hector, and he owns a paint and carpet company, and he bought a property that everyone said no to. Everyone said no to it. Oh my God, no, it's so much work. It's so much work. He bought it and turned it around in less than a month. And it's already rented right now. And he just bought it. So what markets, B or C class? So it depends on your market. So someone earlier was saying that like in a certain area of Florida, the high crime areas is where the hot zip codes were. So it just really depends on your market, and finding the hot zip codes in your market, finding out where people are investing, what areas are hot right now and becoming hot, and targeting those first. But at the end of the day, if you find a good deal anywhere, someone's going to buy it for sure. I'm going to answer just a couple questions, and then I'm going to hop off. So trying on market and just getting frustrated, that's why I don't do on market. First of all, if you're marketing to cash buyers, this is just like, for me, this is not trying to offend you or anything, because I know there's so many YouTube videos that do target on market, and I know it's something that people teach and learn. But for me, when I just first started learning, I was just like, okay, pretend I'm a buyer. What's the first thing I'm gonna do to try to find a deal? I'm gonna have realtors sending me listings. I'm gonna have wholesalers sending me deals. I'm gonna be looking on Craigslist. I'm gonna be looking on Facebook, and I'm gonna be doing all that work myself because I'm a cash buyer and I want to find a deal, right? So off the top, if a realtor is sending me listings, why would I buy that same listing from a wholesaler when I could just go directly to the agent of the seller? Because obviously that person cannot do a transaction without the agent. So what you're hoping for when you're doing on market is to find like a diamond in the rough kind of thing where either it's been on market for so long that you're able to negotiate a super low deal, which is unlikely because these people went with an agent for a reason. They want the most they can get. So I feel like by focusing on market, I would be shooting myself in the foot. Second, I have tried to help people JV deals that have turned out to be on market, and all of my buyers get upset because they're like, why would I even buy this from a wholesaler when I could just go to the agent? Yes, you have it under contract. Technically, nobody else can buy it. But if it was a failed listing, unless you're able to get it for like 50% of list price, right? Which is a strategy some people do. They go on Zillow for sale by owner, they go on Zillow for sale, and then they just blast out 50% offers. So unless you're able to get it that low and get it under contract that low to where a buyer would be like, oh, wow, you're advertising this for way less than it's listed for. What's going on with that? I don't think on market would really work. And I think it's way more difficult to get there, to get a buyer, to get a seller to agree to 50% of their list price than just looking at off-market deals and talking to off-market sellers. I think that's way easier. Blake. Do you buy and hold? So one buy and hold so far, but I've bought a couple and sold them. I'm not really like trying to do that right now though, because I want to get as much capital together. And I don't even know if I want to deal with tenants and property management and all that stuff. Maybe I'll join like a REIT and make money that way. But just talking to, or maybe Airbnb, like I want to make passive income through rentals, but I see the downside of it too. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know yet, but definitely something I'm thinking about. So I already answered that question. Excuse me. Let's see. I'm going to answer one more. Oh, well, I'll answer two. How long are you taking off from work after you give birth? I'm starting my family as well. I want to wholesale. I'm not taking any time off, so I'm bringing my my tablet and my laptop to the hospital with me, just because you can't really stop wholesaling. Like, people are going to always be calling you. Like, but I'm so lucky that I have a team that is so loving and caring and supporting. My VAs know, what's going on, and my VA/acquisitions guy knows what's going on. So I know my sellers and buyers on the deals that I'm working with right now, they know what's going on. So those few days when I'm in the hospital and I might have my phone off or whatever, people know what's going on and will give me that grace in that time. But I love this. Honestly, like, I'm making it so I can be, obviously when you have a newborn, you might be asleep at 1 p.m. and then again at 3 p.m. and then at 8 a.m. or whatever. So I'm making it so that I don't have to be the one calling sellers. And I have a couple people helping with acquisitions and just keeping it going. But I will be obviously slowing down. But once I'm all good, again, I'm going to let my body tell me. I'll go back to going hard. Even right now, I'm taking it easy because I'm not trying to stress out my last 2-3 weeks and have something go on because of stress, which this business is very stressful. This is just how it is. Do your cold callers make offers, or are they just screening for motivation? So there's only one of them that will make offers and do the acquisition. The other two, they just screen for motivation and get the basic info. Do you wholesale in Oklahoma? No, I don't. But I will. Maybe one day. Thank you. I appreciate it. So do you run into agents or other people other than the seller, even on off-market properties? Yeah. So even, like when you pull a list, like say you pull a list off Propstream and you're calling them and a week later you're calling that same list, someone might have listed it. So that's how I end up talking to agents. Sometimes the people who own the property are also agents. So it's really just depends. KJ, I would look at the ARVs, and a full gut on an 800 square foot house might be like 30 grand. So, because that's a really small house. depending on if they need like plumbing, electrical, but you can look on Google, because on this one, if you don't have a lot of comps, you just have to dig and do your research more. Yeah, 60K might be a little too much. 60K might be a little too much because they still want like a good enough discount. So if you can get it under contract and have like a boots on the ground or a contractor walk it and take pictures, and you can kind of figure, because if you don't have good comps and you don't like, if you are having trouble with cash comps and everything, and also ask him how much he thinks the repairs are going to be and stuff like that too. You kind of have to figure it out. But if say the ARV is 112 and he wants 60 and it's going to take 20 to fix it up, and you could sell it for like 85, between 85 and 112K, it's a decent enough discount. You might find a buyer, but you also have to find out, are people trying to buy 800 square foot houses? Because I have trouble sometimes selling really small houses because they're not, if it's like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, you just kind of have to figure out what buyers want. But 60K might be a little too high, especially if it needs plumbing, electrical, roof, and stuff like that can get more expensive. And you can always talk to buyers in Facebook groups about that property and see what they think, because I love getting feedback from actual cash buyers when I don't know, because they're the ones who are going to be buying it at the end of the day. They'll tell you the honest truth, especially if you have pictures. They'll look at them and be like, oh, wait, no. Nobody will pay that much for this. This is where we would be at. And then you can go back and offer that. Worst case scenario, they steal the deal or whatever. It's really not that big of a deal, because if you don't know enough about it, you probably couldn't have sold it anyway. Now you know a little bit more information. But most people, I would say that out of everybody I've met, at least like 85, 90% are trustworthy, and they want to build partnerships with people who are on the ground like we are, finding deals, because it's not easy to find deals. If it was easy, cash buyers wouldn't be coming to wholesalers. So if you talk to them professionally and have like integrity, usually your buyers aren't going to be snaking you. So I would get with some buyers or some other wholesalers in your market and kind of figure out exactly where you need to be. And if not, then just go as low as he can go. Be like, well, would you take 30? Well, how close could you get? Would you take 35? Would you take 40? Like, just try to get him as low as possible, get it under contract, and then see if you can sell it. That's what I would do. So I'm going to get off of this now, guys. It's been an hour. The Instagram one is going to end by itself anyway right now. But if you guys, I'll do this live probably like maybe another next week. And then probably won't do one for a couple weeks. But if you're on Instagram, follow my YouTube channel. I have tons of free info on there. If you guys haven't got the crash course, get it. It's full of information A to Z about virtually wholesaling, specific to virtual. So thank you guys for being on here and all your support. And I will see you guys next time. And YouTube, I will see you guys next time.